I want to talk about a practice that has completely transformed my life, and that is the process of commonplacing. Now, commonplacing has gained a lot of popularity, particularly on YouTube in the last couple of years, and I wanted to share my take on it, my approach to it, my framework for it, and the benefits that I have seen for commonplacing in my own life on my own lifelong learning journey. Now, I get that we live in a digital era, and trust me, I'm a Notion girly through and through. I use Notion to manage my doctoral research, my not for profit, my business. My whole life is on Notion, but I still can't go past the value of commonplacing as a tool for learning and creating like your own library of wisdom. I see commonplacing as at the intersection between three more traditional practices. The first being notebooks and note taking, the second being journaling, and the third being a sketchbook. For me, commonplacing is right at the center of this Venn diagram. A notebook is a practical collection of notes, ideas, and references. They're places where we like to jot down information from different external sources, whether these are lectures, books, or just conversations that we have. And this category of documentation is about capturing external information. Then we have journals, which are more about internal reflections. These are where we record our personal reflections, our thoughts, and emotional journeys. And they can help us to process experiences, make sense of our lives, and navigate change. Then we have a sketchbook, and sketchbooks tend to prioritize visual communication. They're often used by artists or just visual thinkers to capture observations and use drawing as a way to communicate ideas or experiences. So ideally, we want to have all three of these within our commonplacing practice. Notebooks are important because they represent the process of gathering external knowledge and resources, focusing on cataloguing any information, facts, or ideas that come from outside ourselves, often with somewhat of a functional or structured approach. Journaling is important because it brings in that personal introspective lens to our documentation, and this is really about connecting with our inner world, processing what's happening in our lives, and clarifying how we think or feel about a certain topic. Sketchbooks then add that observational or illustrative dimension to the documentation process, and they encourage us to think in different ways, to be more visual in our storytelling, and they provide us a space for creativity and an outlet to express ourselves creatively. Now, in terms of how I commonplace, I like to have a specific notebook for a specific project or topic. This one is all about systems thinking, deep ecology, and the work that reconnects by Joanna Macy. And I just document all sorts of things that I learn in online courses and things like that that have anything to do with deep ecology, systems thinking, or the work that reconnects. So that's what this one's for. I have one that is explorations to do with the new economy. I'm on the board of an organisation, the New Economy Network of Australia, so it makes sense to me that I have a notebook dedicated to anything that I learn or anything that kind of comes up in this role that I hold. I have another one for my journey learning about Druidry. So I'm a student of the Druid tradition. I'm currently at the Bardic grade, but I use this to document my journey, my learnings, things that resonate with me, things I want to explore. This is a fun one. This is my 5 senses commonplace book. And this was one that I came up with when I was coming off my antidepressants. And I wanted to learn how to tap into my 5 physical senses a little bit better. So I actually started a sensory bucket list, and I have a list of things that I want to do for each of my 5 senses. And as I do these things, learn about these things, or experience these things on my bucket list, I keep a record of them in this commonplace book. So this is a fun one. I also have like pages where I have gone into how the 5 senses actually work. So this is another fun one. I obviously have one for permaculture. I have one for my acting classes and things that I learn about acting. I have one for anything I learn about design thinking or design and change. I have one for storytelling. This was a big one. I've nearly filled this one up. I would love to turn my doctoral research framework into a kind of story that I can tell in a fiction book. So I've been learning all about storytelling and storytelling frameworks in this one. I have them for so many different things. This is just like a general notebook. Whenever I do a course on masterclass, if I find anything interesting, I'll keep some notes here. I was doing a 4-week lecture series at the Queensland Museum all about ancient Egypt. So when I go to the museum, this is the one that I take and I keep all my notes in here. I like to have all of my commonplace books to have a general theme. I also like being able to use craft notebooks because I like being able to customize the covers. I think that's like a fun way to just visually represent like the theme of the book from the outside. And I also write the number of the book on the spine, and on the front I'll also put the number of the book, and I just store them in chronological order that I create them. That's pretty much my process of commonplacing. I think that it's so valuable because it is just as much about the process as it is the product. The product is cool, and don't get me wrong, a big part of the process is going through the commonplace book, flicking through the pages, looking at things that you once thought or things that you thought were interesting, refreshing yourself on the diagrams and stuff like that. And full disclosure, I probably will digitize mine because I would love to be able to access all of my commonplace books from wherever I am in the world, but that's not a replacement for actually being able to physically sit down with the book. That's just like a plan B for when I can't physically sit down with the book. It really is about having a way of truly engaging with what you're learning. When we rely on like digital note-taking or databases, we tend to just cut and paste or copy and paste or write things verbatim and pop them in a database where we're not really engaging with it in the same way that we are if we are writing down concepts and things in our own language, in our own words, in our own definitions. If we aren't really reflecting on these things and maybe exploring how we relate to these topics, or talking about our personal experiences that we have with these topics, or if we're not actually physically drawing these diagrams and actually being able to absorb the things that we're learning, or if we're not drawing as a way to make sense of the things that we're learning. So I really don't think that digital note-taking can replace a practice like commonplacing. However, I do think that we can use digital databases and storage, things like Notion or this idea of building a second brain, as a way to enhance our commonplacing practice. So that is my approach to commonplacing. If you would like to learn more about my approach, I have a full article that I wrote on my Substack that you can check out. Otherwise, let me know in the comments how you approach commonplacing, or if you're thinking about it. I would love to learn more about other people's approaches to this practice and how it has benefited you.